It's me.
Yep.
This is Steve Erickson. I'm talking with Kathleen Dixon, and you were telling me about Kroll Associates.
Right. We just found out recently that there's a guy named Richard Grove, who was a contract employee for, I guess, Marsh & McLennan, which is actually owned by AIG. And he said that he found out that the software that his company was writing for Marsh & McLennan and AIG was money laundering software. And that he was talking about, you can Google this on YouTube, he was talking about how AIG has this fleet of airplanes and they're involved in drug running, and this kind of matches what Sibel Edmonds says about these rogue CIA type of guys running terrorists and weapons in through Turkey and the various stands, and the drugs come out. So all of this jives, and I think everybody needs to know. This is what we were talking about earlier. There's some people, they say we're paranoid to be saying there's a secret government. Yet Kennedy was talking about it, and so was General Eisenhower. And this secret government is, of course, associated with the Council on Foreign Relations. This is the AIG Greenbergs, the Rockefellers, Kissinger, and Kroll Associates, and AIG, and these banksters and the Bush family. It's all the same clique. This is that secret government. These are the people who pulled the 9/11 stunt. And I think the most important thing for the public to know is that, these police forces who are abusing activists are unaware or uninterested in who they're really working for, which is this secret government with their crazy Patriot Act and so forth. So people are starting to recognize that it's in this military security industrial complex, it's in their interest to take away our rights, because this New World Order is about the corporations call all the shots. And we know from the Lyme crimes, and we know from the 9/11 stunt, and the inability of the FBI or the DOJ to investigate that.
I'm on Kroll.com, KROLL.com right now, and you mentioned that they are the contractor for the FBI and the CIA, and they deal drugs. How would somebody prove that, or where would they investigate to find out?
Well, there was a story yesterday in the New York Times about the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York City is going to start investigating the deeper drug running into, like, Turkey and the various stands. And those are the people who he claims are funding the terrorists. Well, I guess that's meant for the public to say, the likes of Al-Qaeda are running drugs. Well, the truth of the matter is it's these big corporations. It's these banksters who are, in fact, running the drugs, supplying the terrorists, involved with the Mossad and Richard Kroll and Dick Cheney. It's all that gang. So it's a distraction. It's actually the banksters in this country who ruined our country who are the ones who are running drugs. And, it's kind of a joke for the New York Times to put that out there as a distraction, if that's what it's meant to be. So, you and I were discussing police and DCF abuses of whistleblowers and state troopers who commit crimes and who protect their own informants and drug runners so they can get a piece of the action. We were talking about State Trooper Boccaccio, who murdered his wife and attempted to murder his wife's attorney in the parking lot of the Middletown courthouse.
Yeah, he had a couple $100,000 of cash.
$90,000 he spent in 1 year on gambling. That was discovered in the divorce proceedings. So where did a state trooper get that kind of money?
Well, allegedly they're getting it from drug running and prostitution. There's even a term for underage prostitutes that police have, prostitutes.
Oh, God, that's gross. It's not surprising in this state. I mean, this is DCF. They start them early, So half of the girls DCF have taken away from their parents end up as pregnant teenagers, and 1/3 of all the children who have been taken away by DCF end up in the prisons. So it surprises me none that these whores would be creating mini whores.
It's a racket.
Yeah. Well, it's a pediatric cannibalism racket.
All right,
That's right.
And we could talk about the state of Connecticut. If you contact the governor's office with any type of concerns, you can be respectful and just explain what's going on, they'll put you on a list, and the next day, the day after, you'll have 1 or 2 police officers in cars separately burning gas all day long, following you to work. They'll start hounding people that you know, your family, your friends, and what their program is to do is to dismantle your life. They want to discredit you in case you talk, and they make people afraid to associate with you. And then when they weaken you without a job, they try to take away your kids, your house. They dismantle your life, and if you keep speaking out, they'll put you in jail.
Right. Right, that's right. The goal of it is so that the common person can't get organized. And like we just had Martin Luther King Day, and we watched that all day yesterday on the History Channel. The likes of Martin Luther King and whistleblowers like Aaron Brockovich, and what was the name of that company? The W. Grace Company, Love Canals and other things like that. These corporations now know that the way to stop an action like that against them is to terrorize the whistleblowers. Single them out, humiliate them, throw them in jail, call them terrorists, take their kids away, which is the surest way you'll end up with no friends. Because if you take your kids away, everyone will think, oh, what if that person is worse than, a pediatric sex abuser. Yeah. She's such a terrible mother that clearly she is a terrible mother because her kids have been taken away. Unawares is the general public that this is just another corollary of the bigs and the DCF are their henchmen. So, yes, they ruin your reputation. That's the first thing they want to do is ruin your reputation. They went after Spitzer.
I went after Spitzer, too, after a video I shot where that's another story. Rit Goldstein, a Swedish filmmaker, is approaching me trying to find Rit Goldstein. He, as you know, in December 96, held a hearing on civilian oversight of police. He was so terrorized by police, he left for Sweden seeking political asylum. So if you want to Google Rit Goldstein.
Under Siege.
Yep.
Under Siege was the hour-long video he put together, and that's right.
Yeah, and then he was terrorized.
Talking about police corruption and retaliation, which is, that was 1996, and I point out that, things have gotten a lot worse since then.
Yeah, there's less.
The point of it is that they want to terrorize people into not taking concerted, combined group action. And so what the public needs to know, if they're listening, is that whenever you hear of someone like myself or yourself who has been bagged by these idiots, these henchmen for the bigs, think twice. It might not be because we are guilty, but rather they don't want the public listening to us, paying attention to us, and forming a united cause or united front against the abuses of the bigs and their henchmen, the cops, these stupid unions. Think twice.
I was considering running as a Republican for selectman for Stafford Springs, Connecticut, and I'd totally believed in the system and no conspiracy theories. And what happened is just by contacting the governor's office, making suggestions, and wanting to help with campaigns, etc., my picture was allegedly sent around to the state police, to the town police, and they wanted to break up my marriage, make me lose my house, and they were following me around to try and disrupt my business. So they are out to ruin people just for becoming politically involved.
Right.
So they have
They want to terrorize anyone with any personal initiative. Those are their instructions, and this has been going on since J. Edgar Hoover. It was terrorizing, the black people. They're scared to death of an independent person who looks at this whole thing, can see what it is, and is unafraid to offer suggestions. That person they want to do away with. Yet, how humiliated have they been? Like Yale University and their Limericks vaccine. Had they told the truth about Limericks, we would have learned 10 or 15 years ago what were the causes of these primary chronic high morbidity diseases like cancer, Lou Gehrig's disease, multiple sclerosis.
By testifying
Anthony Fauci, listen to this. Anthony Fauci has said, he said there's a summer of August of 2000, Anthony Fauci is the head of NIAID, the National Institutes of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Oh, we got to go back to the drawing board on immunology. We got this all wrong. Maybe we should take a look at the structure of this TAM3-CIS HIV vaccine, which is the same thing of Lymerix. They're totally humiliated. So what is the point of accepting the doctrine and the dogma of these big insurance companies and these, of big pharma when they get it catastrophically wrong?
You cost them maybe $100 million or $1 billion by testifying to the FDA and getting the information out, and then you ended up doing prison. They take away your kids. They're trying to go after your house. They go after your pension. Yep. I'll backtrack to what I was talking about. As far as when I started out, I was emailing on my computer. So my $2,200 computer, fairly new, it burns up. And then I borrowed my tenant's computer, which was a new Dell, and always had the latest up-to-date protection and all this. So that computer fried. So they dismantled my life. I went to I was sentenced to a year in prison for having been attacked on my property by a police informant. They just rig your trial, and so I was told
that was the most ridiculous case on earth. They charged you with overreacting to being mugged.
Yes.
That's classic.
So
you beat up the attacker that the police said, screw you, we're not defending you over.
Yep.
When the guy had threatened you. I know. And then they lied about it under oath. I know. We have proof of that. The state troopers lied about
four of them,
asking them. Yep. About the state troopers lied under oath and said that you never asked them for protection against this guy who threatened to do all kinds of things to you, beat you up, kill you, and cut off your dick. Yes, I know that. I've seen that evidence.
Yeah,
so
okay.
These state troopers are just plain scum.
So then I was told that I had to leave the state or I could spend the rest of my life in prison. But they were following me up into Massachusetts. So I was staying at a horse farm, and I was emailing my complaints. So the furnace burned out, the microwave burned out, the TV burned out, the computer burned out. The same thing happened to Chris Kennedy. And
I know. It sounds like an E-weapon.
Yeah, and
just his one house was fried, right?
And then where I was blogging, freespeech.com, I was getting 5,000 to 10,000 hits a day on the stuff I was putting out. So in Atlanta, Georgia, or around there, that fried, and they had a power surge. So what happened is there was a power surge at each of the places that were geographically very far from each other. Chris Kennedy's house. And then the neighbors weren't hit. So everything electronic gets burned up.
I know.
So
Chris Kennedy is he's a Mason.
Chris Kennedy?
And he's an engineer. He's a Pratt & Whitney engineer.
How do you know he's a
real
Mason?
Credible character, huh?
How do you know he's a Mason?
He told us.
I didn't know Chris Kennedy was a Mason. That's the first.
Yeah.
I went down to New Orleans. I worked as a insurance adjuster. I was doing quite well. I had there were calls coming in from Connecticut trying to get me fired. I was trying to rebuild my life. I
remember that. Yep.
I wasn't blogging, and so basically their efforts worked. I got fired. I came back to Connecticut. I stayed with you. And I had a $4,500 computer, indestructible, made it through New Orleans. That fried. The brand new HP laptop fried. Your computer fried. And then my backup laptop fried just within a space of, 2 or 3 days.
Mm-hmm.